yes, good day, good day. This is the Peaceful World Movement Show, brought to you by the Peaceful World Movement, the Shy Peace Show. I'm your host, Dr. Peter K.B. Sejar. Today is October 22nd of the year 2019, the day of the birthday of two of my children.
Oh, really?
My first son, my first child, my only son, and my daughter, the last of my three daughters.
On the same day?
On the same day.
That's amazing.
Many years later. I don't
great.
say I lose count, but many years
that's
later.
Interesting.
Yes. So thank you for joining us. Again, I'm your host, Dr. Peter K.B. Sejar. I'm the chair of the Department of Sociology and Criminal Justice, and I am the chair of Criminal Justice Major in the School of Professional Studies at North Park University. Today we have a great guest, my friend.
Yes.
And I'm a professor, but he's also my teacher of nonviolence works. Today we are discussing the topic of nonviolence, protest, and civil disobedience. We were having a little bit of a conversation before the show, and there's some of you who are joining us live here on Facebook. Thank you for joining us live. I see a few of you have already signed in. You can also call in, because this is a live show. Wherever you're in the world, you can call 312-738-1060. And Sarah, our double major in criminal justice and sociology. Oh, is it sociology and criminal justice? Whichever way she says, whichever. Take it how you want. She's a double major. Two sides of the coin. One is sociology. We should give you a double-headed coin. Sociology and criminal justice when you graduate. You like that, Sarah? Right? Sarah McKay is here with us from St. Louis. And you guys saw Sarah a couple weeks ago. So, Mr. Bradley, thank you so much again for joining us.
Thank you, Dr. Peter.
Man, I like the jacket, man. You're looking cool, man. You look like a rock star.
Well,
a blues musician.
Well, one of the things my auntie used to tell my family was that no matter how bad you're feeling, don't look bad, because it don't make you feel no better.
That's a good one. You know what? A good friend of mine from Buffalo, New York, called Mark Fuller. You know, Mark has a signature afro. And Mark said his mother always told him, you may be poor, but you don't have to look poor. Right. You can always look good. No matter what the situation is, you can always have a choice to look good.
That's the point. And that's important. And that's very important.
Yeah, because sometimes your outside makes your inside feel better, right?
Absolutely. And it really determines what's really on the inside, because it's about character. Even when you're at your all-time low, what is your character? What are your principles? What is the truth? And with that, it creates integrity. See, because without integrity, integrity is to be the courage to be consistently truthful.
The courage to be consistently truthful.
See, no matter
brother is deep. Yeah, we haven't even started yet. And he's already dropping
no
knowledge.
matter where this truth leads you, you have to have the integrity to go there. You may lose friends, but you may, but it's integrity. Because sometimes we violate our own integrity, compromise. If I think it has value to do such. See, the thing about violence, I just left Springfield. We got a resolution passed, making violence a disease, a public health problem that requires a mental health response and not a police response. Because the false notion is that violence is normal, and it's not. Violence has been part of our human construct from day one, but it doesn't make it normal. It's a creation of a disagreement with the truth.
So let's gonna break some things. This brother is deep, man. This brother is deep. He can do a 4-hour, 7, 8-hour lecture with just some chalk. He doesn't need notes. He does all the stuff. But today we are talking about the subject of nonviolence, nonviolent protest, and civil disobedience. And I am not going to be hypocritical about why I asked you to be on this show. A few weeks ago, I wrote an open letter. You read the open letter.
Very good letter.
So I don't necessarily want to go into the name of who I wrote it for, where I wrote it to, but there was a movement to there are in one of the countries in the Caribbean, there there's, of course, we have opposition and we have parliament, and we have government, the incumbents, and the opposition was staging a protest because of disagreements, grievances, genuine grievances from their point of view. And the person who called for the protests said that they were going to get involved in some peaceful gatherings, and then they said at the end, after they didn't kind of get what they wanted, they would have a campaign of civil disobedience all over the country.
Sure.
Now, for me as a soldier of the United States Army, and for me training police officers and knowing police officers, I know that police are trained to listen, and we as nonviolence trainers are trained to know that, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, that when you say civil disobedience, it is almost a code word to let the police and the military know that you expect that your head might get bashed in, because you expect to get arrested, and you're trying to find your way to court to change some sort of rules, right? It is not just the same as not just the same as saying I want to protest. So in other words, that there are, and you can correct me if I'm wrong with that. In other words, there are different types of protests, but the term civil disobedience in this business is reserved for a more serious level. Does that make sense?
Civil disobedience is not as potent as nonviolent direct action. Okay, now, there's 3 stages. You have protesters, demonstrators, and spectators. The protesters is against something. The spectators is going to see.
Try to avoid the noise with that.
Oh, the spectators is going. Whoever wins, that's who they got to follow. They just spectators. Whoever is the winner, oppression or freedom, they just in it. The demonstrators is actually for something for everybody, and they are here to demonstrate. See, 2 different. See, so protest is not actually has nothing to do with nonviolence. They never protested. They was demonstrating through character, a resolve, already put forth what the answer should be, if it was incorporated. So they gave a recommendation that was coherent. So they weren't just mad and trying to throw rocks at the. No, they had an answer to the social problem and had to demonstrate to the people who was unknown, ignorant, insane, the reality of what this is. And it's like a doctor can't be as crazy as the patient. So they did it in a social dynamic and not just in a personal dynamic. So you have to have the same demeanor. So when you're solving a social sickness that was instituted by law or whatever that is, you have to, the person who's bringing the answer have to be as intelligent, competent, integrous, scientific, because that's what you got to deal with. It's not enough to just be against something. What are you for? And that's the whole point. So you have to demonstrate that. And so the demonstrators, even in King time, they didn't go to get their head bashed in. They had such character, it brought out the sickness out of the hater. So it showed itself. Like we love people. Okay, we just singing and doing the right thing, and all of a sudden it makes you so mad you want to beat us up. That's what you had to show. It brings it out of people.
But you're right. But and that's the power of nonviolence.
Correct.
Right? That's the power of nonviolence, because what happens is that if you get involved in nonviolence, you are, and we did in the training, we saw the videos, that the first thing that when Dr. King said in those principles, the principle number 1, that nonviolence is a way of life for courageous people.
Right.
For you to be able to be, because the idea is that
those are 6 principles, right?
If somebody hits you, you're not there to hit them back, right? You are there to show the evil in they wrongfully hitting you, right?
Right. No, but let's go back to the premise. He said this is only for courageous people. So you have to ask yourself a question: are you that? Are you the fearful one? Are you the hater? Are you are you that person? Because it's only, you would have to have that. We can't give that to you. You have to come with that. Okay? Now we can then give you the steps to show you how to do that, but without that, nonviolence is not for you. Okay?
Right. And so the thing though, the point that I wanted to make clear, because a lot of people, they said a lot of things, maybe you can consider positive or negative or whatever, because a lot of them were not aware, a lot of them believe that there's only that civil disobedience, protest, and nonviolence, all of these things are the same thing.
And they're not.
So basically,
Sure.
you can say that if I say I do not like something about the government, and you and I just go rally out there, up and down the sidewalk, raising our placards, that's civil disobedience.
Right.
And I explain to them, no, that's not how it works. We do a protest. But when we talk about civil disobedience, it is a deliberate technique.
Right.
That is trying to get you to court to turn something else around.
Right, and that's the difference with right, exactly.
Right,
See,
right.
civil disobedience, they actually not going to court. They make it a nuisance. Protesters, they not going to court. Only the demonstrators. See,
Yeah, key people, not everybody.
no. Those who are demonstrating. Because see, all you doing is saying and showing scientifically when your government does not know how to direct you, protect you, and correct you. It is your duty to change it. But you can't burn down houses. You can't kill nobody. And as long as you use the right scientific method, you got them. They hoping you throw a rock so they can arrest you. See, because you're now off the mission. You have to have such strict discipline because you want to keep them on the issue. So even if they talk crazy, they just keep on the issue. This is all to sidetrack you. Because at the end of the day, you never want the photograph to show that you hitting them.
Right.
You always want the photograph to show they hitting you.
Right. And the thing about it is that when we get trained in the military empowerment or in police side with civil disobedience, if somebody said they're going out to protest, people can do crazy things.
Right, sure.
But we know usually when they say civil disobedience, it's going to take the notch up a little more.
Right.
And because there are some people that are deliberately going to be put up, right. So but the interesting thing is that once that has been a code word for the police to not only have their big weapons, but the weapons may not be unsafe. It may be on fire because although sometimes if you understand nonviolent protests well, the police will have their weapons unsafe because if you are well trained, the last thing you will do is do something like burning someone, hurting someone, because like you said, you don't want a camera to catch you doing something wrong. Not only that, you're not there to do wrong.
You're not there to do wrong. So you don't let them get
in the
you
sense
off
that
your point.
But wrong it might be, for example, well, I don't necessarily say you're not there to do wrong because sometimes you're there to do wrong, such as if they say, well, like during the civil rights movement, that blacks cannot eat in a restaurant where whites are. You go into the restaurant to try to get something to eat. They'll say it's wrong because it's against the law, but it's not wrong in terms of the law, the natural laws, right?
Right. You remember the movie that we watched, The Children's March?
Right.
Now, segregation was the law. It was going on for over 100 years. People have protested against it. People had was just spectators around it. But then finally some people came to demonstrate. Something else happened. See, because even with civil disobedience, Saul Alinsky is a scientist of civil disobedience. But violence is an option for him. Burning stuff up is an option.
It's an option.
Blowing stuff up is an option. So see, these are options. Violence is an option for protesters. Violence is an option but for demonstrators, violence is never an option. That's the difference.
Folks, we're here. We have not even introduced him to say, brother, where were you born? What's your favorite meal? When do you go to church on Sundays? We haven't even asked him those questions, but we just jumped right into it. Like we knew each other already. I'm your host, Dr. Peter King Seja. The battery died on my laptop, folks, so hopefully you're watching us live on screen here. We're talking to Philip Bradley, who is the president, CEO of Nonviolent Works. Is the one that I got certified. I have different certifications in nonviolence, but one of the latest ones with his organization. I had the pleasure of doing this. Was it 20 hours? 20 hours. 20 hours of training with him.
And we're doing a new one November 9th at Old St. Mary Church on 15th in Michigan.
Okay, awesome. Well, we have a caller. Caller, thank you so much for calling today. Please let me know your question or your comment.
The president, the CEO of Nonviolent Works. is the one that I consider by
Hello,
now
caller?
Speak louder.
the nonviolent.
Yes, hi.
Yeah,
I
I'm
have a
listening. Go ahead,
question.
caller. I'm listening.
Okay, yes, now you all were talking about civil disobedience, and often people do show up. You know, if they say, okay, we're going to have this day of civil disobedience, then there's that understanding that, okay, the police may beat you down, right? And your guest was just talking about how demonstrations don't have violence, but the other options do have violence.
No,
But
no.
what
Let me
about this
make a
idea? Okay,
no. Not. I didn't say
yeah,
that
I'm not
exactly.
saying no. I
No.
know, but this is what my question is, though. I understand. I know I phrased it awkwardly, but my question is: do you think that the state believes that it has the only legitimate authority to be violent, and that protesters and demonstrators are always navigating the state's authority over violence?
It's a good
Very good
question.
question. And right.
Good question.
Now,
Thank you, caller. Thank
right,
you so
right.
much.
That's why I was stating. See, the responsibility of government, national, state, or local, is to protect you, direct you, and correct you, meaning to rehabilitate you when they say you out of order. But the problem is we live in a system that don't do any of the three. They don't protect you. Matter of fact, you're scared of the protectors. They don't give you direction on how to improve your life of some degree. That's like you're on your own on that. And when you make a mistake, they have nothing in place to correct you other than punishment. And when you find this is going on, it is your duty to change it. Now, do you change it with the same thing they got, or do you change it with something different? Is the end result. Now, so if you're looking at a violent system, you can't change it with another violent system. You would have to then create a non-violent system as the replacement. But if you don't know what nonviolent is, you would just be the next person in line to do to the people what the last guy did, because that's all we know. We don't know nothing else.
Okay.
That's in our history, that's in our DNA, but that's not necessarily make it normal. We just been doing it so long. But until you can grasp nonviolence, which means how do you love yourself, love your spouse, love your children, tell your children to love people realistically, and then forgive people when they make mistakes, because you're not in a perfect world, and then come up with natural logical recommendations to solve problems and be committed to work on it. Because that's all you can do without killing anybody. And watch the success of that. But no, but civil disobedience, sometimes they come to the party with intent to damage property, and the police response is, we must now put a boot in your butt, spray you with mace. So you can't trigger their behavior. No, the point is the state violating my rights? How do you prove it? Go do the right thing and watch what they do, because that's what the accusation is. I was driving down the street minding my business, and a policeman just pulled me over, started bothering me. Okay, you have to prove that. So I was just minding my business, walking downtown, singing Amazing Grace, having a demonstration, and it irritated them so bad, watching a rational citizen, that they broke out bad. Because that's what's going to happen.
So, caller, are you still there?
Yeah,
Caller?
that's it. Yeah.
See,
Caller, are you still there,
when you're
caller?
purging insanity, all you have to do is be sane.
Hey, caller, you still with me?
All you have to do
Doing
is be
something
sane
else?
when you're purging insanity.
I'm here.
Okay, so caller, it seems like you're asking, and if I understand your question correctly, I would say that the state, of course, has the monopoly over violence, and the state can get away with bashing you on the head to make its point, but you can't get away with bashing someone on the head to make a point, right?
Because they are law enforcement, and the law say don't do that. So they just enforcing the law, even though they contradict the law, they still law enforcement.
Right, and you cannot use their tools.
Yeah, right.
So if you want to get compliance, you will have to choose
Two
other
wrongs
tools. Right.
don't make it right.
So you cannot because they have a monopoly. Just like if only you can sell XYZ water. You have a monopoly over selling XYZ water. I can sell water, but I can't sell XYZ water. But if you try to sell XYZ water, I'm going to sue you, right? So if you can't use violence, because violence, actually a violent act is not an act against a person; it's an act against the state. That's why you see Phil versus Illinois.
Right. And that's correct. One of the things I was sharing with the committee that we're dealing with, that making violence.
Hold on a while. Hey, caller, do you have anything else, or did we answer your question?
No, you answered. I was going to initially ask about this whole idea of civil disobedience and it being a trigger, but I think you guys covered that before I got through.
Okay.
So,
All
thank
right.
you so
Well,
much.
thank you so much again, caller, for calling. I really appreciate your call.
See,
Thank you.
but let's be clear. There's no such thing as a nonviolent protest. That's a contradiction. There's a nonviolent demonstration.
Okay, so you are making a clear distinction.
See, there's no
between
nonviolent
demonstration and protest.
Yes, sir.
When you say protest, is on.
A protest is against something with no particular recommendation in sight. They just know the state is wrong, but they don't have an answer. A demonstration has put forth a recommendation and now got to put some skin in the game to make it materialize.
And which one has the violence potentially?
They both have the potential. One initiated the violence, one is the recipient
So
of
which
the
one?
violence.
So I want you to say clear to...
Civil disobedience is the initiator of violence, and then they see the result. The demonstrators are the recipient of the violence, and then you can see that their point is correct. The state is violent, they violate law-abiding citizens, because that's been your complaint.
Mm-hmm.
That's the complaint. And if what you're saying is so, prove it. Prove it.
Yeah.
And if they are that diabolical, and they are, they will show it.
Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, time flies when you're having fun. Can you imagine? Sarah just flashed 5 minutes on the screen. I think we still have like 20 minutes left, but she didn't count it. Sarah, you sure you counted that right? She said she counted it right. So I have no choice but to believe her. So Phil, tell people who you are, man. We're doing this the first thing last.
I appreciate it. Phil Bradley, I am the student of James Bevel, who was the chief lieutenant to Dr. Martin Luther King, who every major movement that was successful, he was the strategist and was in dialogue and prayer with King and made it materialize, from the Birmingham movement, the open housing, in the war in Vietnam, the first Nashville city, and the open theater movement. And so, and he was younger than King. He's about 5, 6 years younger than him, which made him really profound to be such a young guy to come up with such thoughts. But I took I saw his historical value, and was wondering, where's everybody? Why ain't nobody paying attention to you, man, if you are who you are? But you have to respect your elders. And so what I did, I agreed to respect my elders and learned the history, law, and science of nonviolence, being an apprentice. But let me tell you one of the things I would like to share, though, because I tell my students, don't worry about who I am. Just listen to what I'm trying to tell you, because something can happen. Part of this violence piece is this. See, everything, it has been driven by violence. See, you was violent first, and they had to give it a description, then they called it racism. You was violent first, they had to give it a description, and then they called it capitalism. See, so all these things have violent dynamics. But sexism is violence. Materialism is violence. But it was violence first, then we try to give it a nice name. See, we could talk about racism till the sun come up, because it ain't no end to that. Because we don't never get to the root cause what's driving it. But if you call somebody violent, now we can do an assessment.
Well, folks, it looks like we're gonna have to have a part B here. But I want to show you some things. The principle, Martin Luther King's principles of nonviolence. Hopefully, Phil, next time we'll talk about the 8 steps. But we'll just go through a couple of them. Nonviolence is a way of life for courageous people.
Yeah, to be courageous.
Nonviolence seeks to win friendship and understanding.
That's correct.
Nonviolence seeks to defeat injustice, not people.
Not people.
Nonviolence holds that voluntary suffering can educate and transform. Nonviolence chooses love instead of hate. Nonviolence believes that the universe is on the side of justice.
Very good.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have a few more seconds to go. Again, we're here with Phil Bradley of Nonviolence Works, talking about nonviolent protests, demonstration, civil disobedience. Hopefully we'll have a part 2 when we can get a little more into the 8 steps.
And spectators, and you don't want to be a spectator.
Right.
Don't be a spectator.
Yeah, so hopefully we'll have a part B where we'll get a little bit deeper into the 8 steps. But again, thank you so much for
Thank
coming
you,
out.
and I look forward to coming back on.
Yes, absolutely. Any final quick words to
I tell you, it's going to be nonviolence or non-existence. We need to start wrapping our minds around it to make it a way of life. If you don't think your body can't achieve what your mind can't perceive.
Good line. Good line.
So you gotta, if you don't think about it, you can't do it. So let's start thinking about it. We know what violence brings: hardship, death, destruction, mayhem, problems. Let's look at some alternatives.
Awesome, awesome. Thanks again, Dr. Peter Kibi Sejan. I'll see you next week when we talk to Dr. Jack Surridge about fishing.